Now that we've reviewed how to find the area and perimeter using formulas from our past, we want to know how to do it with a coordinate plane. We'll be asked to graph things like a triangle in our coordinate plane, and we'll be asked to find the perimeter or the area of that triangle. Unfortunately, they didn't ask us to find the area here. We want perimeter for these two. So the key thing to be aware of is A, graph them accurately so you're not in the wrong place, and B, what kind of a triangle is this? A right triangle. The nice thing about having right triangles, how do you know that's a right triangle? 90-degree angle, right? Lines that are perpendicular to each other are things like vertical and horizontal lines, right? So when you see a horizontal line in one of these problems, you can count the grid marks to find out how long that side is. So how many steps is this? 7. 7 horizontally, 5 vertically. So we've saved ourselves a ton of time by not having to plug anything into a distance formula or something of that nature. Okay? Horizontal, vertical, you can count. Diagonal, you can't count them. Does that make sense? Okay? So we can't count them diagonally, but we can if it's a horizontal or a vertical line. So how are we going to find the length of segment DF? Because if we want to find the perimeter of this whole figure, we'll need to add 7 plus 5 plus the length of DF. So distance formula. The square root of x minus x, right, squared plus y minus y squared. And we want to have that formula memorized by the time we take our test. So write it down each time until you know it by heart. Does that make sense? Okay, so x minus x. My two x's are 4 and negative 3. So don't lose your square root. 4 minus a negative 3 squared. When you see minus a negative, it means add. What is 4 plus 3? 7. So 49. 7 squared is 49. Plus my y minus my y. Negative 3 minus 2. What is negative 3 minus 2? Negative 5. They're both negative. We add them and give the negative sign. Negative 5 squared is positive 25. You'll always get positive numbers in here because when we square them, a negative times a negative is positive. So 74. Okay, Eric, did you have a question? Did you have a question? Okay. So 4 minus a minus 3 and negative 3 minus 2. Okay, watch your signs. Be very careful about your signs. So we have how much? So the square root of 74 is this distance between D and F. We did all of that without a calculator. So if you don't have a calculator come test or quiz time, I would accept that you write down that the perimeter is 7 plus 5, which is 12, plus the square root of 74. And that would be a perfect answer. Okay? So I know that most of us can't think of what the square root of 74 is off the top of our head without a calculator, the 2 decimal places. Okay? So it's going to be less than 9 because the square root of 81 is 9, right? 8.6, what is it to 2 decimal places? Anybody have it? 60? Okay, so that will be 20.6. And this is an approximation because we had to do some rounding. Okay? Everybody good with that one? All right, let's look at the next one. Again, we're looking for perimeter. So you've graphed it, right? G was at negative 3, 2. H is at 2, 2. We've got a nice horizontal line going on here. 5 units in length. And then I is at negative 1, negative 3. So to complete that triangle, hopefully you use your planner or some other straight edge to make a nice, neat triangle. And we only have one nice number, one horizontal segment to count. What kind of triangle does this look like it is? Upside down isosceles, right? Does everyone see why it's isosceles? Okay, it is acute. But what does isosceles mean? Isosceles, the base angles are equal. They happen to be upside down. And the two sides opposite those base angles are equal. So the nice thing about this is we only have to use the distance formula one time in order to find that length, and then these two should be the same. Okay, so you would multiply it by 2. Okay, so let's use the distance formula again. Distance formula says square root of x minus x squared plus y minus y squared. So do you want to use G or H with I? G? Okay, so we're going to take negative 3 or minus a minus 1. If I start with this being my x2. You can do it the other way too. Okay, if you want to start with this being your x2 and this be your x, and this could be your x1, it would be a negative 1 minus a negative 3. We change the sign of the minus and negative to be plus, right? What is negative 3 plus 1? Negative 2. So we'll have a negative 2 squared here, which becomes a 4. Down here, we would have a positive 2 squared, right, which is still 4. So it doesn't matter which order you subtract your x's, as long as you only combine x's with x's and you're subtracting. Okay? X's with x's, y's with y's. Don't get confused and subtract these two from each other, or these two from each other.